Busy day. Busy day in the AFC North yesterday. Shamar, we had Joe Burrow talking about Trey Hendrickson's importance. We have a legendary show today. We were supposed to have Joe Haden on the program. We're going to try to get him back. He could not join us last minute, sending love to him, of course, this morning. We do have Hall of Famer and Super Bowl champion Rod Woodson on the show. Steelers, little Ravens, are very AFC Northy today. He, of course, also played for the Raiders and the Niners. I've got my top 5 fantasy breakouts this year, and I'm so curious, and this is an impromptu here because we don't have Joe Haden. I'd like to look at FanDuel Sportsbook potentially and see if anything has changed after Aaron Rodgers signed. Aaron Rodgers, lots of changes with him, of course. We'll be right back. Tomorrow's our last show for a while. I just want to say that. We're going to be gone, taking a little vacay, a little Hamilton, my favorite word. What is my favorite word? Hiatus. It's such a weird word. It sounds like a disease. It sounds like, oh, what did she have? What happened to her? She had hiatus. Ooh, bad case of hiatus.
You're trying to rebrand the divisional round. We need to rebrand hiatus. That should be our next mission.
What do you call it? Like a vacation? I don't know if we want to, are we taking vacation? That sounds like it's summer vacay. Yeah. We already have summer Fridays. We sound like a-holes. You know what I mean? Like we can't do that. We can't just be like, we're going on vacation for 3 weeks. We'll see you after. Yeah. We'll be back July 7th, allegedly. Who knows? That's when we're supposed to be back. But I think hiatus
just sounds so ominous.
Hiatus is it's appropriate. We will not be here after tomorrow. Who's on tomorrow's show? Do we know yet?
We have Calvin Johnson for sure.
Who?
Calvin Johnson.
Calvin Johnson on the program.
Another Hall of Famer this week.
I know. I will not be able to make it to his golf tournament this year. And I'm actually really bummed out about it. But he's coming on, of course, to promote that. I think Good Cat, Not Bad Cat, is figuring out maybe how I can sponsor a hole or do something, to contribute, because it's truly like when we were there's so much goodness going on with Calvin Johnson and really all of these Hall of Famers. I cannot wait we had Tim Brown yesterday. Like I'm still having my pinch me moment. The fact that we have Rod Woodson on the program today is amazing. Can I tell you something that happened in the aftermath of yesterday's show that I didn't love before we get into our fantasy breakouts and before we get to Rod Woodson?
Oh boy.
People think that I played myself. That's the truth. I played myself. It's not my fault. I love the Chargers. And I haven't thought about this. I want to get my ideas on this. Love the Chargers. Have always supported the Chargers. I supported the Chargers on Good Morning Football 3 hours a day for 6 years, everybody. Lest we forget. Then stupid James Palmer, knucklehead that he is, comes on the show. And I'm just like, he's a friend. So we're just and I'm saying, I don't know. I said some off the cuff BS thing about I don't know, Bo Nix, Justin Herbert. I like Bo Nix. I do like Bo Nix. And that somehow made its way to the internet. And Chargers fans are like, excuse. And now I'm being besmirched. The AFC West and I are having a tough time. In what world are Chiefs fans loving me? And somehow Raiders fans who I've loved and supported and continue to love and support despite their stiff arming me. And then the Chargers fans are not mad at me. And so then we've had a couple of guests on our show. I believe Dante Whitner, am I right? Who's been questioning. Yeah. Okay. Dante Whitner. Okay. You're going to say he can't have opinions on things. Okay. Interesting. And then we had Sony Michel, who spent some time, not a long stint. He didn't have a long stint out there in LA with the Chargers. I asked him point blank, open-ended question. If you had a question about Justin Herbert, what would it be? And there is this little thing that is circling Justin Herbert. And it is this idea of his clutchness. It is this idea of this was something that followed him in the draft. Who was more annoyed than me about that? No one. Why? Because I'm an introvert. I handle my stuff quietly. I'm not somebody who's rah-rah. I hate rah-rah sweaty. It's the worst thing ever. Do your job, get it. And even yesterday in this back and forth with Sony, I'm saying, I don't really understand what you're he can't be quiet. He can't be that affects clutchness. That affects game-winning moments. And I questioned him. Chargers fans are she's always circling this narrative. I hate the narrative. I wish it wasn't true. There's clearly a reason that it's there. Does that mean that it's true? Smoke, there's fire. I don't really even subscribe to that theory. I just think it's this maybe potentially low hanging thing until people who are in the locker room are saying it, until people who are around
Yeah.
the team and like, I don't know, go back with the coach or something. There's something to this, and I can't wait for him to disprove it. They add the run game. They're going to balance things out. I feel good about it, but where I played myself is saying whatever I said about Bo Nix, which I haven't even,
Yeah.
I'm not even saying I don't believe that world. So like, I just haven't thought about it. It was one of those where I just said it and I instantly regretted it. And now I haven't done enough diligence, and maybe I will during my hiatus. And I will come back and I will tell y'all which quarterback I feel more comfortable in this year. The one with the number one defense, or the one that got a little bit of run support. And by the way, while we're here, before I let you talk, and you're being so gracious as I'm just filibustering here, Ron Woodson on the show. Everybody, if you have questions for Rod, let us know. Rod, what a name Rod is. What a Rod. I would say, congrats to J.K. Dobbins. Congratulated him yesterday.
Yeah.
Love this for him. I was sitting in a doctor's office. My doctor's a big Broncos fan. He came in and goes, J.K. Dobbins just signed. So now I'm happy for him. We've talked so much about Aaron Rodgers. They, of course, rehabbed together. And now he's also 1 year removed from an injury. So I'm excited to see his new landing spot. So is he like the jokery guy? Explain this to me.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see how he fits in. And by the way, he's going from Justin Herbert to Bo Nix now. So maybe we'll get some insight out of him when we have him on the show next time.
JK goes, I go. That's what we should do. We should book for our first show back J.K. Dobbins, and then I will make my case for who I believe in. I don't think it's that. Okay, first I have two questions before we get going here. J.K. Dobbins, what role? What do I need to know about that? I have not done my diligence.
Yeah, so it's interesting because they have R.J. Harvey, the rookie there that everybody thinks is going to take over that Joker role. They still have Jaleel McLaughlin, who is, who has impressed in that third down back role in the past and is getting rave reviews out of minicamp and OTA so far. So it's going to be interesting to see how they balance it. I think we don't really quite know yet exactly what JK's role is going to be. Is it going to be as a depth guy? Is he going to be the lead back? And then we see RJ come in situationally. So and they still have Audric Estime too, who, has shown he could be a power goal line back. So there's a lot of depth in that running back room, but as we know from the past, that's kind of what Sean Payton likes. Remember New Orleans when he had Pierre Thomas and Chris Ivory and Darren Sproles, and they use all of those guys. So I think we're going to see them all have a role on this team, and it's going to be a fantasy football headache, but it's going to be a great problem to have for the Broncos. If you look at the complexion of that room compared to last year. Oh yeah.
There's no one worse than Sean Payton when it comes to fantasy anything. Outside of like Colston, who would have like low key he would have low key 8 touchdown seasons and or Alvin Kamara, obviously, even earlier, but he loves just screwing people on fantasy. I think it's why he does it. Okay. Back to my Herbert Bo thing. When I said it, were you like,
Oh yeah. That was one of those things immediately. I'm like, she doesn't realize what she's doing. Like what is about to happen from this.
Is it unfair? Is it unfair? Yeah, it kind of
no,
is.
because
Justin's so talented.
Yeah, they both have things they still have to prove, and Herbert obviously is super talented, but it's almost like there have been so many of the negative experiences with Herbert in some of those situations that you haven't had with Bo yet. And I also think I wanted to say too, like, you're not just asking those questions to further the narrative. I think there's a part of you that's hoping Sony Michel will say, hey, that's BS. He's, it's not a thing. Yes, they've lost some playoff games, but it's a team thing. It's not a him thing. Like you're hoping, you get that answer.
If you watch back that interview or that moment, the question that was laid out that I had like in my notes was there's this narrative about, and I literally start saying it. I stop myself because I'm rolling my eyes in my third eye in my mind saying, I don't want to go down this path. Chargers fans, if you watch it, and then I stop myself and I say, if you had a question about him, what would it be? And yes, it is giving an opportunity to be like, that's not a question. I don't know if it's a low hanging narrative. I don't know. Like I've never, how much does that rah matter? But this is the guy who did play with Tom Brady. He did bring up Tom Brady right away. Clutchness. like anything, until you dispel that, it's going to be a question. Go out and dispel that. It's not shutting me up. Like, what did I say? I didn't say that. I
Yeah.
didn't freaking say anything. I didn't say anything.
You're not,
But again, I understand all of that because life is not a vacuum, and I played myself.
yeah. Yeah.
I
And
played myself
you're
with
not
the
the
bonus
one
of
with,
it all.
you're not the one getting customized Herbert jerseys and things like that. Like you've had his back, and we want to see Justin succeed. It's just,
Yes, I
this is
think you will.
something he has to get past. Yeah.
Second year of Harbaugh, third year for Sean, though, right? Number
Yep.
one defense will matter for this. Chargers
Yeah.
defense, we'll see. We'll see. Love some of those pieces that they have. We'll see. Love them. Would love for them to be successful. Even though they've broken my heart a million times, which is why we love them. We love them. I love it's like the most toxic, beautiful thing. And I just keep like, you cheat on me every year. And I'm like, oh, but he didn't mean it. I didn't love him enough. Like it's fine. It all works. It all
It's fine.
works perfectly. We're gonna take a break and then come back and do our top 5 breakout fantasy sort of vibes. We didn't really go. Well, I wasn't ready to break. Is that okay if we don't? I wasn't ready to break. Is that okay? I'm not ready to break. Sorry. Why'd you take? I didn't take it to break. I said we're going to take a break, but before we do, I'd like to talk about something else. That's okay though. Ham will come out of this. And is there anything interesting with the Pittsburgh? I know I sent that last minute.
Yeah.
No?
So there is some interesting stuff there.
Hold on. I think we should wait till we're on television since we lost a guest and fill the time with that. Does that feel good to you?
Yeah.
Okay, great. But
Let's
there is
do
stuff
it.
I don't want to know. I don't want to know yet.
Okay.
Love that. Perfect. Let's do that out of break. Not out of break, but I will probably use that. Maybe to tee up this little combo. Cool. Love that. Love that. Love that. And Shamar,
Awesome.
what happened? I know I saw Joe on Trey. Joe and I. Lockstep, baby.
Yep.
Joe Breezy and I. Wait, can you believe that Joe's going to be on quarterback and what are we going to get to see? I'm dying. What do we get to see? What is he going to show us? What?
I hope a lot of Super Smash Brothers, I'm sure. Yeah. Lego sets. Yeah.
I'm excited for what, and I think just two mystical little creatures and characters, and Joe Burrow and Kevin Durant getting the Netflix treatment, like letting people in. Like, what is better?
Yeah.
What could be better?
Yeah. KD had a lot going on yesterday too.
What happened now?
People just love criticizing him, and he's, I give him credit for, for speaking out.
What
Just
happened?
people criticizing his legacy after leaving Golden State and what's happened, and that he made a mistake leaving Golden State, and he was, as he does, he was responsive to those. Yeah. Because it's a team game.
I could not love him more. Good. Love that. Love all of that. Love that. Is he staying? Is there like rumors? I never, don't even tell me. Who knows? I just want him to be happy. Just be happy.
There's some Knicks rumors. I'll just say that. Oh.
I think he is happy. Oh, you would love that. That'd be fun.
I would love it. Yeah. I love Durant.
Is Giannis leaving the Bucks?
That's still a rumor that's out there too. It sounds like there's a lot of traction to that.
Could Kevin go there? No. I don't know anything.
I don't think. Yeah, it's hard to see like if Giannis isn't there, that's an attractive place for him. But
I don't. I love that Ishbia, man.
Yeah, that's true.
Back on Up and Adams, we have Hall of Famer Rod Woodson on the show. If you guys have any questions, let us know in the YouTube chat. You can tweet, of course, the show. Matthew Hamilton here alongside. A little senioritis happening a little bit. We got our last show today. We've got like 45 more minutes and then 1 hour tomorrow, and then we're done. We're done, so going on a little hiatus. Obviously, the presser happened yesterday with Aaron Rodgers. He finally signs. We've been covering and sort of tracking and following the weather pattern and the tornado of FanDuel Sportsbook odds in the AFC North, which is super interesting. And then before and after Aaron Rodgers, have you noticed anything as the winds are blowing after this finally got inked?
I'm surprised things have not changed very much, and I'm sure the overlords are kind of working the probability of Aaron Rodgers going to the Steelers into the equation. But yeah, since the signing, their win total's still 8.5. They are still getting the third longest odds in that division at plus 550. They are still plus odds to make the playoffs. So not a lot of faith from the FanDuel Sportsbook overlords in the Steelers after that Rodgers signing.
What do you think it should be? What would faith look? I mean, look at just in the complexion of where it's at. I don't know. Should you like them more than the Bengals? Plus 200, plus 5. I think that's pretty. The win total, I think, is a little low. I think it's the highest floor.
Yeah, and they're getting plus odds on the over at 8.5, which, you know, is saying that they're more likely to finish with a losing record for the first time in Mike Tomlin's entire career than they are to win 9 games, which is pretty surprising to me. I would think that would have been bumped up a little bit. You're right. I would still put the Bengals second, but I'm surprised the gap didn't close at all.
What's the most fascinating thing to you with this, whether it's the dynamic or like what question you have about what this team will look like? I think mine is probably the offensive coordinator between Art and Aaron. Like, does Art and Aaron work? I've talked extensively on our morning calls about Tomlin and Aaron working. I think it will work. Yeah. I think respect is necessary when you're as intelligent and tenured and a champion, all the things that Aaron has. You need to like really have somebody that you consider at that level. I think that is Mike Tomlin, no doubt, undeniably. And it's really just like, is he going to like what Art has going on? Is it going to be, I think that the internet sort of is echoing that sentiment. Like by week 6, is he and Art getting along? I don't know if it's about getting along. It's just like being on the same page, because when you are one of the greatest, you like things how you like them. And he's earned that.
And it is fascinating because Arthur Smith, as we know, can be a fiery guy. So that dynamic. But I'm interested in it because we haven't seen Arthur Smith really with a good quarterback before.
Don't get Bo Nix here. Don't get Justin Herberted.
But we saw him really help revive Ryan Tannehill's career. They had a nice run together. All due respect to Ryan Tannehill, he's not Aaron Rodgers. And then we saw him go to Atlanta, and they couldn't figure out that quarterback situation. So we've seen him make a lot out of not very much at the quarterback spot. And from everything we've heard, I mean, from looking at the tape and his schemes and all of that, he's a brilliant guy, Arthur Smith. He just hasn't had a great quarterback to work with yet. So I'm interested to see if they can bring the best out of each other here too. I think there's, it's easy and it's a popular thing, I think, to clown on Arthur Smith because he has been fiery and he'll fire back at the media and all of that stuff that he does, and he'll give you some wacky quotes and other stuff. But I think this is a guy that is a brilliant football mind, and I think there's a chance for this to be really special. The work they're able to do together. You're right. It has. They got to be on the same page.
Great.
And that's the question.
A dynamic that I just want to make sure we can get to our fantasy, but I want to play this Will Howard thing because I think that's another dynamic that I'm very excited about. I don't have questions about it. I know that Aaron's a great teammate. I've heard this from Jordan Love every time I've talked to him. He speaks so highly about Aaron. Aaron very aware of how to treat people in a quarterback room. They all love him. The Ben Kurtz, everybody. And now you have this Will Howard kid who I fell in love with. And here he is talking about the potential, a little bite of him on Aaron. Did Aaron Rodgers come up in these conversations at all with Big Ben?
No, not really.
Oh, no?
I'm sure
no, not at all.
Asked once or twice.
Yeah, maybe his name was mentioned once or twice.
That name's been thrown around a lot.
And what do you think of that? I'm sure it's somebody you grew up also, looking at and loving.
Idolizing growing up.
Yeah.
And I don't know what's going to happen. Who knows? That's all over my head. But, I'd love to be in a room and learn from him. Again, who knows what's going to happen? I have no idea. That's above my head.
Did Aaron Rodgers come up? Well, here it is. What happened? We have him in his uniform, of course, yesterday talking to reporters, talking about the attraction that Tomlin had. So that's amazing. We will have Rod Woodson to dig into that a little bit more. But right now, there he is. Aaron Rodgers looking great. Excited to have more than 8.5 wins. If you want to dabble on that, go to FanDuel Sportsbook right now. Rod Woodson on the program. Thanks, Hamilton. I'm going to get into right now. It's a little fantasy because we know there's no better time to do that than June 11th. The season is creeping up. You are already planning your like Labor Day draft vibes, and I'm here to help you. Here are my top 5 breakout players in fantasy, and I decided to not include rookies. There's a big argument between Hamilton and I, but we're not going to include rookies. That'll be its own separate thing. I love Drake May this year. At number 5, Drake May. Big time weapon. Stephon Diggs, Kyle Williams, sort of unheralded, going under the radar, so he'll be a great value. Much better offensive line, much better. And I think there'll be big strides from a numbers perspective in a passing game as a result, of course, but I do love the rushing upside, which we don't talk about. When I was with him in Mayakoba a couple months ago, we talked about it a lot. He averaged just under 8 yards per carry. That's insane. Last season, he rushed for over 400 yards in 10 full games, just 10 games of action. 4th easiest strength of schedule among fantasy quarterbacks. That's according to fantasypros.com right now. He's going 17th. 17th at quarterback. I promise you in all my drafts, Drake May will be on my team, icing on the cake with the rushing. I love it. At number 4, I'm going with Niners 2024 first round pick, Ricky Pearsall. That's right. Goodbye, Debo. We're seeing a lot of footage of Debo right now. Debo's gone. He's a commander, and this opens up volume, opportunity, targets, 81 targets up for grabs without Debo. Ricky is going to take advantage. If you look at this, he started just 4 games last year. He made the most of each of them. He scored in 3 of the 4 starts, averaged over 80 yards per game in those contests. That would have been good for 7th best in the NFL over a full season. He averaged only 16.4 fantasy points per game. Over that, over 16 and a half. Are you joking? Only Jamar Chase averaged more than that at the receiver spot last year. I know that it's a small sample size. You're looking at a little screen that Core Chain made. Love you, Core Chain. It's 4 games, right? Okay. But if you look at where he's going right now, 45th at receiver. You don't think this guy's going to have a 1,000-yard season inheriting 81 targets and that off? Come on. He's going to have, double-digit scores. I'm willing to say that. That is my 4th best breakout. At number 3, breakout in fantasy 2025 edition, I'm going to go Marvin Harrison Jr. And of course, I don't really have to say much probably. Look at the picture. He's gone viral like every other day with how he's looking. Everybody's losing their minds over, like, I guess, putting on weight. I don't really know what I'm looking at, but everybody's freaking out about it. And why wouldn't it be a breakout season? It got me thinking. Year 2 with Kyler. The two have been putting in work all offseason, allegedly. There's a lot of emphasis being put on their connection and the chemistry. Marvin had over 800 yards and 8 touchdowns last year, okay? The pair connected on just 53% of his targets, though. So if that number comes up, and it literally has to, of course it'll go up. There's only 53%. That's crazy. 1,100 yards. This is an 1,100-yard receiver. This is a double-digit touchdown floor for Marvin, and he's going 21st. Outside the top 20 at receiver is when you walk in and there's like that bin of DVDs and you're like, I can get Captain Ron and Ferris Bueller and Home Alone 3 for $199 for all 3. I'm buying that. Of course, that is value, okay? And the upside is there to crack the top 10. Captain Ron, don't know where that came from. At number 2, I'm going to go with Bucks running back Bucky Irving. Big fan of him, of course, and he had a phenomenal rookie year. I think he helped a lot of you watching this win fantasy championships, daily fantasy, of course, over on FanDuel. But I think he was scratching the surface. He had fewer than 10 carries in half of his action last year. In half of his games, fewer than 10, okay? You think that's happening again? No. This is the guy who finished tied for 3rd with Saquon Barkley in yards per touch last year, behind Jahmyr Gibbs, behind Derrick Henry. There's explosiveness. He catches passes. He might get 100 or more touches than what we saw a year ago. I'm talking, he's going to boom. This is a definition of a breakout, and he's 10th. You might think, 10th Bucky Irving, that's like rich for me, whatever. I think by the time we get back from hiatus, I think into August even, he's going to be top 5. Because this is going to be a high-scoring offense. He's made his way. I'm telling you, he's going to have 100 more carries this year. Number 1, my number 1 fantasy breakout for 2025. Caleb Williams. I feel good about it. I feel confident about it. You take a little Ben Johnson, you put him in a blender, a little dash of DJ Moore, some Roma Dunze, who went completely under the radar last year. You sprinkle in a receiving tight end named Colston Loveland, a Luther Burden, who was completely undervalued through the draft process. And then you blend it, and then you're like, oh, I forgot to add the better offensive line. Let's really make this a great smoothie. Okay, that's the recipe for a breakout 2025. That is Caleb Williams. And you might say to me, even if he's better, isn't it going to be so tough for him in the North? And I think that's a fine question, but take a look at this. The divisional games were actually where Caleb shined the brightest during his rookie season. It's tough, rough. Seems like it was a bit of a loner on an island rookie season. He was top 10 in yards and points against his division, okay? The only quarterback to not throw an interception in interdivision games last year. And with all the improvements around him, I'm really not worried about that aspect, the North, the division, the toughness. This is fantasy we're talking about. I just showed you the numbers from last year. He's gonna take a huge leap. And he's going 12th. Okay, so he's going 12th. Let's see who else is. Do we see who else? Okay, so just between Justin Herbert and Brock Purdy. This is interesting. But I do think if you look at his running ability, that's what sets him apart. So if I'm between a Herbert and a Purdy place, I might take Caleb for the rushing upside. That's that's it. There you have it, guys. Those are my top 5 breakout fantasy studs for this year. That felt good to do. Caleb Williams, Bucky Irving, Marvin Harrison, the yoked version 2.0, Ricky Pearsall in year 2, and Drake May as well, who rushes at 8 yards per clip. There you have it. Breakout studs. If I missed anybody, let me know in the comments. Thank you. We'll get this out, of course, on the Twitterverse, and then we will take a break because we do, I believe, have Rod Woodson coming up on the show after the break. See ya. Didn't throw a pick against anybody in any of the 6 games.
I was,
That I didn't know.
We were looking that up. I was shocked to see that. Yeah, it's the only quarterback in the league that didn't throw a pick against his own division.
Love that for him.
Yeah.
What else did we not get to? So we have Rod here. Do you have a TJ Watt question in here? Yeah.
Yes.
Great.
Yep. Cal made sure to take care of that. He was all over
young
it.
Cal. Okay, what else?
I'm really excited for Rod. Honestly, like, I feel like we need to be talking about Rod Woodson more in his career. I think he might be the greatest DB of all time when you really look at it. Like,
you were convincing yourself this morning.
No, it doesn't take much convincing because, again, I think he played at a Hall of Fame level at both corner and safety.
No.
Which, really think about it. Like, he had almost like 2 separate Hall of Fame careers and was the greatest playmaker in the secondary of all time.
Yeah. I want to ask about Jalen Ramsey too.
Yeah, that's a great, because he could have a very similar career arc.
I think Rod was pretty open about his feelings about Mr. Rodgers.
Yeah, that'll be interesting too. A lot of connections to those Ravens too. Does the radio for them?
Imagine being, I think he does I want to talk about the camp. Imagine just being one of these kids who's like in a camp and like it's Rod Wilson's camp. Like, what the fuck?
I know. I know. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. That's who I want to interview, these kids who get to go to these like legends camps. Like, do you even understand? Let's do a film study.
Yeah.
12-year-old. Let me show you what's happening. My favorite is when like, who are the people like that have come on our show and said like that they're like Matt Forte. Like Matt Forte's kids don't even know that he was a player.
Yeah.
How come? Oh no.
Man.
Okay, we have it.
Yes.
Sounds. You want to see these highlights? Did you see this already?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't see it. What do you like about it?
I have not seen it yet. I have not seen it yet. I'm very excited.
All right, let's do this. Rod Woodson. I could ask him if the record's going to be broken. I might start there.
Rod Woodson. Hammered by Rod Woodson. And what a play by Rod Woodson. What a great play by Rod Woodson. Picked off by Woodson. He's got Green covered. Rod Woodson goes all the way.
Rod, that is the kind of highlight reel where I like everything about you, but I feel awfully bad for anybody else who pops up on that highlight. If anybody was going against you, it was a bad day.
You know, I played blue collar football. That's that Midwest football that we got to play in the streets. We played tackle football in the wintertime. So it makes you a little tougher when you start playing football like that at 9 years old.
Well, it's an honor to have you on the show, Rod Woodson, Hall of Famer, the best DB of all time. We're just going to go ahead and say that a Super Bowl champion, of course, Defensive Player of the Year. You mentioned being 9 years old, playing football, blue-collar football. We saw that you were recently down in Mexico coaching some kids with the Hope Through Football Camp. Is that what you're teaching, blue-collar football? What are you learning about yourself through that process? That must be incredible.
Yeah, you know, I've been doing camps for 35 years, and normally I do them back in my hometown, but I started doing them internationally. I've done some down in Mexico. I've done some in Ireland. I've done some in France. But we're just listen, everything that's happened in my lifetime and happened to me has happened through football in some form or fashion. And I want to give back to what was given to me. And, you know, so many different countries play American football. They just don't know it like we know it and eat it like we eat it. And I just want to give some of those nuggets that's been given to me from Chuck Noll and Tony Dungy and Rod Rust and Dick LeBeau and Don Capers and Bill Cowher. Those are all great coaches who I played under. And given that knowledge and those nuggets they gave me over the course of time back to these young players who maybe have dreams of playing in the National Football League, and hopefully one day it'll come to fruition.
How do you teach with your words the art of the pick six? Teach a 6-year-old Kay who wants to learn that.
I would tell them football's not overly complicated. This is what was told to me in 1989 when Rod Rust first got to Pittsburgh. He said, football's not overly complicated. Offenses can get into 5 formations, and they'll get in different personnel groupings. And all you have to do, and at the end of the result, when they get to a certain formation, they're only going to run 4 to 5 to 6 plays out of that. You just have to believe it when you see it and don't hesitate. And once I started believing it, and you get those opportunities to get those interceptions, especially if you don't get to play offense, because most really good athletes play both ways in high school and some do in college, as we see now, right, with Travis Hunter.
Yeah.
But when you get into the league, you normally don't. So the only way that you get the ball is by you being a kick returner or getting pick sixes. And I think the art of pick six is like this: don't be scared, don't hesitate, get the interception. And once you get the interception, every time you try to get it, you're trying to score.
I mean, I appreciate everything you're saying. You're making it sound like it's easy, like making a cake and using milk and 2 eggs. If it's so easy and it's just that, be confident, don't be scared. Why doesn't anybody ever beat your record, Rod?
Well, that is a good question because they do throw the ball more now, right? So there should be more interceptions. There should be more pick sixes. I'm trying to figure out who's the lead active leader in pick sixes.
Let's take a look. Let's take a look here.
Need to know.
Well, this is, so everyone understands, you still own the NFL record with 12. I want you to know, 12 pick sixes in your career, no active player is even halfway there.
They're not even halfway there yet?
No.
I think Charles Woodson, since he's my cousin, we're the closest to. I think Charles had 11. I think he had 11. Something like
I'll
that.
have my control room have to look that up. I don't know. Sorry?
But why there's not more?
I can never hear. Sorry, Rod. I can never hear it. It's like mumbling. Can I hear? He has 11. Yes, he has 11.
He has 11. That's right. So that's what I thought. So it's 2 Woodsons that are 1 and 2. And I would think it's going to stay that way for quite a long time. But I think there's some really good athletes out there in the league right now that, especially playing the cornerback position, that have opportunities to make some plays. They just got to be willing to put their foot in the ground and go get it.
Are you
Because you're
willing
going
to
to get.
say, are you willing to bet that's your record's never going to be broken with what I just showed you
No,
and told you?
I'm not going to say
Come
that.
on.
I think the one record that would never be broken is Night Train Lane's record, 14 picks in 1 year. That's a lot of picks, man. That's a lot
crazy.
of picks in 1 year. I had 8 picks 1 year after 7 games, and I thought I was going to break it, and I got 1 pick the rest of the year.
Yeah, Night Train. Let's see. Deron Bland. Here's the notes that my producers are giving me. 2023 single season record. Deron Bland. That was his rookie year. Yeah, for Night Train, which you just said. I don't really know what that point of that was, but there. I'm learning a history lesson with you today, Rod. Your last pick six, the last of the million that you had. You were 37 years old. Okay. It was a 98-yard return. Everyone called it the mile high run. Right. This was back in 2002. Can you relive this for me?
Yeah, we started out having a really good year for the Raiders. I think we started 0-4, and then we lost 4 in a row. So we were kind of like in a conundrum. We needed something to happen. We were losing in that game. I remember Greasy. I think Greasy was a quarterback. I remember him dropping out of the pocket, him trying to look me off, and then I was acting like I was going to go outside, and I jumped back in, and he just kind of threw it right to me. And it was my job to. It was my job. Foot touched me, but I mean, once listen, when you run that far, and you're a mile above sea level, you can't breathe for about 2 hours.
Yeah.
So I was really hurting after that play, but that was one of those moments in my career that kind of helped our team kind of get back over the hurdle. And we won 7 out of the last 8 games, and we got to the Super Bowl. Obviously, we lost the Super Bowl, but at least it got us the opportunity to be there. Yeah,
we were talking in our morning meeting. We got all the producers, the whole staff, like so excited, looking at highlights on YouTube, all the things. And like that was the play. It was said that that's what sparked the Super Bowl run, that play right there.
Yeah, I mean, it's, for me, you love being a part of it. You love being one of those guys that can hopefully ignite a situation on your team where you take this run. And that was one of those plays in my career, be it almost the second to last year of my career, being 37 on top of that.
Yeah.
But with that all being said, as they said, me and Dick LeBeau, we go back and forth all the time, is that as we get older in football, you get better because now you know everything that you should know. And then the stuff that you wish you would have known when you were in your third year, when you're 15 years removed into the league, it's just so much easier to play because
like
everything
what?
that you've seen it before. Well,
give me one specific.
Every type of play. They're trying to throw at you. It's not going to surprise you. If the receiver, when I play corner, if a receiver is 3 yard plus 3 yard split, he outside releases, he's going to run 2 routes. He's going to go or stop. That's it. He's not going to run anything else. He can't run anything else. There's some guys try to come back inside, but they're not that good at it, and try to run the dig. So, one thing I've learned over the course of my time frame with the really good coaches that I've had is that they will tell you what you're running. You just have to believe it when you see it. And if you believe it when you see it and you put your foot in the ground and you're not fearful to make contact, I know it's a little bit different today in today's game than it was when I played. But those guys who have that confidence and that belief in who they are, those guys are going to separate themselves from the average players to the great players.
I mean, at that position, it's like the hardest position to have confidence in because you are getting smoked sometimes. You are losing a lot. It's like an impossible gig and that you did it at such a high level. And then you keep going back to confidence and almost experience too. Just that in your further years, you're a man who had 17 total freaking touchdowns. It's insane to think about. I'm so curious the role of instinct in all of this because we've got kids in their rookie year making these plays, feeling it out, whatever. Like, what is the role of instinct? Because like Kirby Joseph's one of these guys where Kirby's like, I feel the ball.
Kirby
Dawkins talked to the ball.
Year.
Yeah. Younger player.
Last year. And then I think the instinct part of it is this. The great players have filters in their head and you listen to what your coach is saying but when you get on the field, you still play the game like you played when you were a kid. So if you go to a Pop Warner game, a Little League game, when the ball goes to the right, all 22 players are to the right. They're all over there. But as we get older, coaches say, I need you to be in the middle of the field. If you're the outside 1/3, if you're the outside rusher, you can't fold, you can't do this, you can't do that, you have to do this. And they tell you all the things that you shouldn't do, and it kind of ingrains in you, and you forget the natural instinct that you're given as a human being and as an athlete. But the really good ones have that filter where they hear the coach and they say, I hear you. I hear what you're saying, coach. But when I step out there, I'm going to go play ball. And the Ed Reeds, the Troy Palomalos, those type of players have those filters where they say, I hear you, coach. I got you. But the really good coaches also, they allow you to be yourself inside of their system as long as you don't go rogue.
Is Ed Reed the best at that, the instinct part?
I think Ed and Troy, I mean, I did a lot of crazy things in my time frame of playing, but Troy and Ed are two of the guys that I've seen in my time frame of playing where I remember Ed Reed intercepted. He was a far side safety. There was doubles on to the right side. He let the inside guy go past him, and he intercepted the number one dig coming on the other side of the field. And I'm like, when I saw him, I think in the Super Bowl, I'm like, dude, what in the world did you look at? He was like, he only threw to number one. He said he never threw to the inside guy, so why would I cover him? And that's what's like those, like you find guys like that where you go, oh, that's why you're a Hall of Famer. And you tell the young guys, you don't want to disrespect your coaches, but you don't want to lose that natural instinct God has given you and forget about how to play football.
It's so hard. I would never want to be a DB. I just feel like it's so hard. But then like the glory of it's better than a normal touchdown in every way. Like the highs are so much higher if you get to, if you pull it off, it's so rare. Like the win feels bigger, but gosh, it's so hard. Running backwards while someone's running forward and keeping up with them. No, thank you, Rod. What were you thinking playing that position?
I say it all the time. I think DBs are the best athletes on the field.
Totally.
Because you're running backwards. It's a reactionary position because I don't know where you're going. So I'm going off of where you're at and what you're doing as a receiver. But what I love about it is that, to be athletic and to still be physical, but you're kind of like I remember Willie Gault doing the ballet all the time, right? But it's like a DB being like that. But nowadays you can't touch anybody. So now, when I played, we could hit people, we could touch people. We're a little bit more physical down the field. You can't do that anymore. So I think it takes more skill to play defensive back in today's game because of the rule changes.
You were equally great at safety, which is insane. So like even my producer, Hamilton, I'm sorry, you're going to have to meet Matthew Hamilton. He's my partner. Been my partner here for like 12 years. You're his favorite DB. He's convinced him like you were it. Hamilton, this is impromptu, but like, you can tell Rod how you feel about him and why you think he's the best DB in safety, of course.
Well, a lot of people don't. No, go ahead, Hamilton.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I think the fact that you played at a Hall of Fame level at both corner and safety and basically had two Hall of Fame careers in one and were the best returner in the league when they put you back there earlier in your career too. I mean, there was nothing you couldn't do. And it was awesome growing up watching you.
Yeah. You know what's fun, and a lot of people don't know, is that I played safety my whole life. So all the way from 9 years old, all the way up to my senior year at Purdue, I played safety, and they moved me to corner. So my senior year, I played corner, receiver, tailback, a little everything at Purdue. And when I ran my 40 at the combine, I ran a 4.30. They were like, yeah, you're going to be a corner. And I'm like, what? No, I'm not a corner. I'm a safety. And they're like, no, you're going to be a corner. And luckily for me, I had Tony Dungy my first 3 years in the league. And Tony loved on me, taught me how to play the game at that position. But when I did finally switch over to safety in year 12, to me, it was like, oh, I'm home. You know how you come from a long day of work and you get on your couch and you're like, shee.
Yeah. That's how you felt?
It felt like that. It felt like, because I didn't have to, it was natural for me to play safety. Where corner, I had to learn how to play on the outside and learn how to play at that position, where safety, I was doing that since I was 9 years old. And I just went out and played football. And,
I'm sure Hamilton knew that you were a safety. I did not know that. I have a question for you, Rod. Jalen Ramsey. People are suggesting that he's shift to safety. What do you make of that?
I think mindset, he is capable of doing it. I think he does have that physicality. He does like to tackle. I think if he's willing to put his body through those rigors, because listen, when you're coming out in the core and in the boxes, I remember my first couple, first 2 years playing safety. I remember my first game. It was a preseason game. I think we were playing Green Bay, and I blitzed off the edge, and me and Ray hit the same guy at the same time. And Ray's a lot bigger than I am. So yeah. I went flying back this way, and I'm like, I think if he's willing to take some of that, punishment in the core, because you have to be a willing tackler as a safety. I think he can do it, because he tackles as a corner. He has that mindset. It's just, is he willing to be in the core? And I mean, obviously he can cover tight ends and all that stuff. Just being that willing tackler in the core, if you got to fill the B gap, if you got to come out on the edge on the C gap, like you can normally do as a corner, if you're going to, set the edge. So I think he's capable of doing it. Nowadays, I just don't know if guys would want to sustain their careers because they've made so much money. Now, I'm not saying that's Ramsey. I'm not saying that's his mindset. I'm just saying, do they want to keep playing even though they have $100 million in the bank?
You have to really want it. It's dirty work.
You really do.
It hurts. I don't know that everybody, that's why you had these Hall of Fame careers. It's because you sat on your couch and you felt like you were home in these insane situations that you put yourself in and were successful. I mean, your first year at safety, first year after 12 years, right? Like, it was into your career. You had 7 interceptions and 2 pick sixes in 1999 with the Ravens. It's insane. I want to ask you about the Ravens. I want to ask you about the Steelers. I remember what you said about Aaron Rodgers, about leadership, all of that. He stood in front of the team yesterday, in front of the media scrum as a Steeler, sort of surreal to watch. And he said, and the quote was, "All in. I'm all in from now on." How are you reacting to that as a teammate? What are your thoughts about Aaron Rodgers right now?
Well, first of all, naturally gifted. Obviously, he's a Hall of Famer. That's a given, right? Naturally gifted. Is he going to make the position better for the Steelers? Absolutely. Is he going to be the best quarterback they've had since Ben? Absolutely. My question is the dedication, what he's going to have, because he's naturally gifted. He's going to wake out of bed when he's 60, and he's going to be able to throw the ball 50 yards down the field to whoever he wants to. I mean, he's just naturally gifted like that. So my question for Aaron is that if Aaron buys all in, he's going to make the Steelers a better football team. And then, listen, I work for the Ravens. I've been calling the Ravens games for the last 3 years, and those games have been tough physical games every single time they play each other. And that's going to he'll make the games even tougher on the Ravens, because I think the Ravens are the best team in the AFC North by far. But I think Aaron Rodgers helps Pittsburgh because he solidifies that position that they've been looking for since Ben has retired.
Mm-hmm. So you feel confident in him? Do you feel better about his leadership role, the way he handled yesterday, the way he is there on day one?
Well, doing it in practice and doing it in the games are two different things.
Got it.
So, under the distress of everything happening, how do you react? Now, the one thing I will say about Pittsburgh, a little bit different than probably other places he's been, is that they do have a standard is the standard. That's their motto. And I know Mike Tomlin will try to uphold his leaders to be in that type of person. So hopefully if Aaron Rodgers if he comes in and he's that same leader that he was in his presser, then they got the best version of him, and they will be extremely tough team to play week in and week out because Aaron Rodgers can throw the football, and he has some good receivers, got a good running game, got a solid offensive line. And we know how good their defense is year in, year out. So I think he makes them a more dangerous football team than they had in the previous years.
Do you think he still has it? I think that's a question I hate because I thought he had it at the end of last year. Now he's a year off the injury. Him to DK could be hypothetically, a beautiful deep shot connection. It really could be the best in the league, I think.
It could be. I mean, DK's a massive human being.
Amazing.
They're trying to cover somebody like that. But listen, Aaron Rodgers is just so naturally gifted. And he's able to throw the football even when he couldn't run. So now you're 2 years removed from the injury. And normally what you say, 2 years removed, and I know he's a year older, but 2 years removed from the injury, he is going to be a better player.
Yes.
Because he's not going to be worried about his Achilles.
Yeah.
He's going to go play. And he played on it already. So he trusted. He has a strong arm. He can throw the ball from a normal throw, a sidearm throw, underneath throw. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is a gifted athlete. And if he plays the way he's capable of playing, let's say he's 70% of what he used to be.
Right.
Well, heck, that's better than 95% of all the quarterbacks in the National Football League in the history of the game.
But Rod, that 30% is probably mobility, which is a huge part of his game, right? Like that's like the question, right? Like he used to move around a lot. Will he do that? But you're saying he won't be worried about his Achilles. I made this point. When you come off an injury, Tom Brady after coming off an injury, it wasn't the same year, the year after he was the MVP. Same thing with Peyton Manning with an injury, although it wasn't a lower extremity injury. I think, the questions are, I hear you clearly on what the questions are with Aaron. They're not about his gameplay or what he's capable of.
They're not. They're not.
Understood.
I truly believe he's going to make them a better football player or a better football team just for the fact that he can throw the football. Listen, he's seen it. He can throw it. He believes in his arm. They have the best quarterback since Ben is retired with the Steelers. Yeah. And that makes them a better football team from the get-go.
I want to take a break, but not until I ask you about TJ Watt, and then we'll move on to something else at the other during that break. And on the other side, we are live on YouTube, Rod, so you were live this entire time. This TJ Watt thing, I didn't think it was going to be a story. The minicamp, there's rumors swirling. Should TJ get a bigger deal than Myles Garrett?
Yes.
Okay.
I can say, I don't know, bigger deal. I mean, listen, when you're making $30 million a year, gosh, I wish that was like my whole career. In 1 year for those guys. The one thing I say about the Steelers normally, when you have an existing contract, they normally don't tear it up and redo another contract for you. But what I would say to the Steelers is that times are changing. And when you have a guy like TJ Watt, you want to keep him happy because it's not only is he a leader on the field and off the field, but you're showing the rest of the players in the locker room how you treat your best players, especially in the history of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's one of the best players to play at that position in the history of the Steelers, of the black and gold. So I think you do something a little bit different. I normally, like I said, they normally don't tear those contracts up and redo them. But I think you should really hardly think about it. He should be one of the highest paid players at his position, if not the highest paid players at the position outside of the quarterback. When he's not there, they don't look like the same football team.
Well said. Love that. We're going to take a short break here. We are with the legend, Rod Woodson, reliving the glory days. I love everything you're saying. I love that you're saying they pass more and still nobody has more touchdowns or interceptions. I love that you're saying, the good old days of getting to put your hands on people. I could just talk to you all day. It's so fun. It is so fun. And it's, and just the contracts at $30 million a year. Can you imagine? That's so crazy.
Not only that, heck, in college you can make money nowadays. Heck. Yeah,
I know. Wrong time, but I wouldn't have had it any other way. You're such a legend. It's amazing. I wanted to ask you, the Ravens, who you are mentioning here, we got to get to them. I would just love to see this. Who has a stronger unit if we're going to compare these? You know, I'm looking for a bite from you, Rod, here. Fall into my trap here. Pittsburgh versus Baltimore, the secondaries. Let's take a look.
The secondary. Well, I
Better
mean,
secondary.
that's a tough one because I think Nate Wiggins and Joey Porter, they're very similar. I think Nate is a little twitchier. Joey Porter Jr. is probably bigger, longer. I think they're both going to be really good players. I mean, obviously we got to see how Stark's going to play. Unfortunately, Darius Washington for the Ravens got injured. I'm thinking Marlon Humphreys is an outstanding player. I mean, both sides of the ball for the Steelers and the Ravens. I think the depth.
This is hard for you.
And I think the depth wise, I think the Ravens secondary is probably a little bit deeper if Darius Washington was healthy, because Darius Washington played lights out last year. And one of the main reasons they were one of the best after the bye week, they're the number one defense in the National Football League, is because Darius Washington was inserted into the starting lineup, and they moved Hamilton around a little bit and would put Humphreys back into the nickel. So they did everything they were supposed to do. Now, my question is, I don't know how good Starks is going to be. You just never know how good a player is going to be when he gets into the league. Darius Washington played lights out football for him, and he made multiple big plays in big games. Yeah. So since he's injured, Starks more than likely is going to be in that starting lineup. Does he make those same type of plays as a rookie? That's
who is the better secondary, Rod? Make a choice.
I'm thinking the better secondary overall is the Ravens.
Okay, got it.
Just for the fact is, I think Nate Wiggins, Marlon Humphreys, right there are two solid positions that they can play at. And then you move Marlon at the nickel. I think they have the best overall secondary depth-wise than Steelers.
Love that. I love that. And Wiggins, nobody sleep on him. Great rookie year of coverage.
I really like it.
We only have 30 seconds left with Rod Woodson. Quick Travis Hunter question for you. I know you prefer him at corner. I've seen that. He has better odds to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. Does that mean he'll be more successful at receiver? What do you think?
I think I would put him at corner because it's hard to find a shutdown corner. It's just really hard to find a shutdown corner. When you find it's easier to find receivers that can go out and catch the ball, make plays, and get touchdowns. But to find a shutdown corner that can play 10 to 12 years, shutting the opposing best team players down, it's hard to find.
Love that. Rod Woodson, you were an absolute pleasure. Hope Through Football Camp back for another year, July 8th and 9th at Northrop High School in your hometown of Fort Wayne, Indiana. You're providing lunch for people. Please register at hopethroughfootball.org. Thank you, Rod.
I appreciate it. We didn't talk about our trip to Ireland, though.
We're going. I want to be there. I want to hear about it. We'll talk soon, okay? We have to have you back. You're unbelievable. Thank you.
All right. I appreciate it.